Hey everybody, BlvckkWulf here again. I've been getting a lot of requests lately for an updated version of my Interceptor build. So today I'm going to give you a little bit more descriptive version of my last video. That way, just in case if there's anybody new out there watching this and maybe they're a little bit unfamiliar with Interceptor, I can kind of give you that light at the end of the tunnel and kind of give you an in-depth experience of what my Interceptor is like and what I use and what works for me. And this build, it can surpass anything. It's GM1, GM2, GM3, whatever you're looking to get your hands into, this is that build. So let's get to it. My current weapon, I say every Interceptor needs to use. There's no doubt in my mind, there's no questions asked, you need to use this as your primary weapon. It's the Unending Battle, it's a legendary machine pistol. Even if you don't have the legendary version, I would say use the Masterwork version. That's how good it is. I'm going to go ahead and read the description. It's Striker Savagery. Hitting an enemy at point blank range increases weapon and melee damage by 135% for 5 seconds. And with the new patch, this did get a slight buff. So that's another great thing why I use it as well. But the reason I use it is because every single time you're in a fight as an Interceptor, you're always right there in that point blank range area. So getting a 135% melee damage increase for 5 seconds, I know 5 seconds isn't a lot, but in an MMO game like this, 5 seconds can be a lot of time, especially with an Interceptor where you're doing single target damage, where 5% and like 135% for 5 seconds is a lot. So that's the reason I use the Unending Battle. With this is all subjective for your secondary. I use this, as you can see, I got really lucky with this. I got God rolls, I would say. I got a double damage javelin roll. So that means with how the rolls work, if you don't know, I'll just give you a quick basis. This is a perfect way to exemplify it. Is if you look, you see the 25% damage, and you can see that it has a javelin icon. That means that 25% damage is going towards everything in your javelin. So it benefits everything that is you're using and that is at your disposal. And then the great thing about this is if you're confused with some of the icons, if you look below the 18% weapon aim, it has like kind of a gear sigil. That means that it is only specifically for that item. But that's the reason why I use this retaliation gratis. I don't even use the weapon, to be honest. It's just kind of there as just me getting extra damage out of it. And then the reason I am going to show you this first is because this is 100% crucial. I tell a lot of people that if you're not using target beacon, I don't understand why. Maybe if you're a lower end player and you're having a little bit of trouble with survivability, then yes, go ahead and use a rally cry, because with the rally cry you can break free of that status effect just in case if you're having a little bit of hard time, like, you know, just surviving out in the field. But with me, I'm looking for damage. So that's the reason why I use target beacon. So it locks onto a target, reducing the resistance by 33%. So with that, that's just an increase in damage with anything that you're trying to proc. And with Interceptors, a lot of people don't know this, so I'm going to go ahead and explain it. With this build, you need to use combo or effect. It's 100%. I have tested and tested and tested with it and without. What that does, what the combo or effect with Interceptor does, is we have the ability to basically, every single time we proc a combo, we have the ability to actually take on that proc of whatever it is. So let's say it's fire, it's electric, it's acid. We have the ability to take on that proc and kind of wear it as like a shield in a sense. And so every single time we proc that combo, we get that aura that goes over us, and then we get the ability to actually use that combo and use that aura towards other targets. So let's say you have fire. You'll notice when you have that combo aura effect, when you go towards a target, they're burning. If you have acid, it's the same concept. So it just switches. So with this, you need that 90% combo aura effect because it'll increase your chances of the likelihood of you getting that combo aura effect to continuously proc. And then not on top of that as well, it'll help with you getting that actual aura effect to proc as well. And it helps, that's what I was saying, it continuously can constantly hit those combo aura effects that you'll see sometimes, where you'll hear that combo go off. But that's the biggest reason I use target beacon. And the reason I said that first is because then we'll go into the reason why that combo aura effect helps as well. So with Serpent's Veil, this is a go-to must just because with acid, it reduces everybody's resistances. So with this is another great thing about this patch. I know some people are upset about it, but I don't even want to talk about that. This is my build video that I'm looking for, and I want to show people. So the great thing about the update is we got a buff for interceptors. Before, this used to be 100%. Now we're looking at 200%. So what this does is melee hits increase all acid damage by 200% for 10 seconds. And as you can see, that's one thing I always go for. You'll constantly see all of every single thing that I'm equipped, it has that javelin damage icon. That's what you're looking for to output the most damage. And it's just one of those things that benefits your whole javelin, so I just live by it. You need to try and look for those rolls that have that javelin damage. But the reason I use a Serpent's Veil has a very good AoE effect, so it can constantly proc more than one target. And then I'll kind of go into the reason why I use a Serpent's Veil is because there's a component that I use called Wave Integration. So every single time that you hit a target, and if you hit 2 targets with one of your gears, you get a 30% damage increase. But I'll get into that, but that's the reason I use the Serpent's Veil, just because it's so easy for you to get those 2 targets and have that proc constantly. And then we'll get into my strike system. This, again, is dependent on your playstyle. If you're lower end build and you're not maxed out like I am, and you're having trouble surviving out there, I would say use a Caraph's Talon. I know you won't be doing a lot more, you won't be doing as much damage as some interceptors will with that Tempest Strike, but the great thing about Caraph's Talon is if you're having a hard time like surviving or, you know, with more targets, when you get that explosion, it'll proc an explosion that will not only hit that target when he dies, but it'll hit multiple targets in the vicinity. So it'll help kind of like dish out a little bit more damage just in case you're not doing what you want to do. And then on top, if you're just having trouble with survivability, it instantly restores 50% health after defeating an enemy. But for me, like I said again, I'm looking for the most damage I can dish out. So with this game, I've noticed that a good majority of your damage is coming off those combo procs. So unfortunately with Caraph's Talon and Serpent's Veil, they're both primers, so you can't really get that combo effect and get that off all the time. With interceptors, yes, I do have to admit your blades are considered like you can actually proc combos with them. But with the sudden death, that's the reason I'm using it, is because my Serpent's Veil is the primer and then my sudden death is my detonator. So I constantly get combo aura effect, as you can see. So every single time I hit somebody with this, it's a combo effect aura, and then hitting an enemy detonates a fire explosion. And the reason I'm using this Tempest Strike or sudden death is because, as you can see, 225% blast damage, which a fire explosion is affected by blast damage in this game. And then this is where we're going to get into the components. So Way of Bold. I use this just because survivability is my biggest thing. You're going to get in fights with Interceptor like me. I like to get in the nitty-gritty. I like to be right in the forefront of the battle. And I'm constantly just trying to dish out the most amount of damage. So like I was saying, I use that 90% combo aura effect to proc that combo more and proc the aura on me. And then with this component, it increases your aura combo pull strength by 40%. So you'll notice with this component, when you throw it on, your aura combo effect is doing a lot more damage. And then the great thing about this, it's like a double-edged sword, but it's not it's not towards you, it's towards your enemies. So you get that increased combo pull strength, and then on top of that, every single time you kill somebody with a melee, it restores 40% armor. So this is the reason why I call it my greed build, because it's just constantly looking for more. It's just looking for that sustenance. It's like my vampire build, essentially. And this is the reason why I was talking about that Serpent's Veil, Wave Integration. Every interceptor needs to use this. I live by it, because gear hit streaks 2 increase all damage by 30% for 10 seconds. 30% damage for all damage is ridiculous, especially for 10 seconds, and especially with the Serpent's Veil. Do you know how easy it is to hit 2 targets with how big that widespread of the AoE Serpent's Veil is? If you don't believe me, go try it out for yourself. You'll constantly see Wave Integration procced. It's like religious how much it'll proc. And then Vengeance Matrix, another thing I go by. If you're having trouble with survivability, maybe don't use this, but with me, as you can say, a lot of my rolls, I've been blessed, so I have like repair mount, so I don't really need the survivability anymore that I was using in some previous builds, so I'm going for just straight damage with this build. So as you can see, increases all damage dealt by 50% and damage taken by a percentile. And then on low armor, damage taken is reduced by 50% for 10 seconds. And I kid you not, yes, this is a double-edged sword and it can bite you sometimes, but with how great that reduction is sometimes, like there's some fights you'll see me and I'll have the most minuscule amount of health and I'm just surviving because that Vengeance Matrix is procced and it's giving me that resistance to all of the damage that I'm taking. And this is another one I live by, because with this vampire set build, having an increased armor amount is just even more beneficial to Interceptor. So it just increases your health pool. So every single time that I'm proccing that Way of Bold, where I'm getting that life leech essentially, every time I kill a target, this is just helping it out even more, is because I have a larger health pool that I can work with and just increase my damage output. And then on top of that, what I'm refilling my life with is I have 20% repair rate. So I'm just constantly dishing out damage, but at the same time, I'm just rejuvenating myself while I'm getting kills. And this is another reason why I say you want to find those repair drop rates on some of those builds. So if you look at some of my weapons, I have that repair drop rate, and this is the reason why. When you're constantly killing little minions, it's great to like kill a little minion and then go for the bigger target, like let's say a Scar tank. And the reason why I do that is because you can instantly kill that tiny little Scar, kill him real quick, and then it's boom, 50% damage increase for 10 seconds whenever you pick up a repair pack. And if you have a high repair drop rate on top of this, it's just essentially 50% damage procced every single time you kill something. And then this is every Interceptor. I promise you, please use this. I live by this. I know every Interceptor that I play with currently is looking for this, or if they're not looking for it, they have it and they're currently using it in their build. That's how much this is a necessary need for Interceptors. As you can see, an inscribed component that increases melee weapon damage by 30% of base damage, increases melee damage by 75% for 10 seconds when killing an enemy by using melee. So every single time that you kill a target, you're just constantly increasing your damage by 75% with melee. And Bloodlust that's why I call this my like green vampire build essentially. And before, I know a lot of people don't like the emergency power just because it is kind of cheesy sometimes, I do have to admit, but if you're looking for the maximum amount of damage output, especially with having an Interceptor's ult, it's just, emergency power is disgusting sometimes. And then, especially with the way that I play, I am constantly in the forefront of battle, just like I said, and I'm constantly losing my health all the way down to like where I'm about to die. So with this, every 2 minutes, you're getting an automatic ultimate. So it's just like, the reason that I used to not run it just because I didn't like it, but if you're trying to do the most damage over time, especially if you're getting into some of those strongholds where you're having time is like of essence, or maybe you're having a hard time running it, having that extra ult, like let's say it takes you, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes to finish a stronghold. Some people take a lot longer, I know that. So every 2 minutes you have a constant ult that's just at your disposal. So that's the reason I use this. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, any kind of help that you need, feel free to message me. My PlayStation is the same as my YouTube, so feel free to add me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize again if I'm a little bit stuttery. This is my first kind of like introduction into YouTube, and I really kind of want to make Interceptors shine in like the YouTube scene and kind of in the PlayStation scene as well. So again, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe. Thank you guys again for watching.